floor. Two questions from our media friends. Please state your name and your media organization or the institution that you represent, and then your questions. Okay. Sige po, we open the floor po for questions for our panelists. Anything related to what has been presented. Mary, oops. Okay.
Hello, Ate Jo. Not from the media, but as an advocate, if that's okay. So my question is about how, in terms of the policy and regulatory framework, since we are dealing with complex, complicated, and different jurisdictions of applications of laws and interpretation, different stakeholders involved, different, of course, cultures. If we are to tackle the overall and the global problem of illicit tobacco, how should we start? If there's, of course, different political frameworks, different approach, different stakeholders, different decision-making bodies. So what should be the first step? Thank you.
Okay. Roberto, you want to take that?
Thank you for the question, because when I talk about the intergovernmental coordination, to coordinate different agencies is precisely for that reason, because there are different areas of responsibility and there are nuances in the legislation, and the way to solve that is with people seated in the same table and adjust the legal framework of the country and to discuss the problem. If BIR and BOC work in a separate way, the problems will persist. The only way to tackle this problem, as there are different legal frameworks and different schemes of operation of the illicit manufacturers and the illicit traders, you need the coordination to share information, to share the action, and to share the legal problems, so the limitations. One limitation that you have today, for example, is that it's difficult to prosecute registered brands with fake stamps. So you need to think how are going to do, how authorities are going to behave in relation to this problem, for example. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, may pila na lang po tayo. So, 1, 2, and 3. Okay na po.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. Good afternoon. This is Mike Arceo from the Manila Times. I know this question should be directed to BIR, but I was just curious if meron din sa study, like, estimate on how much yung estimated losses from the illicit tobacco trade, revenue losses, or if meron like percentage points lang. And na-mention din kasi yung sa tax stamps, if meron din kayong estimate revenue losses from that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. In terms of BIR data, for BIR 2024 annual report, nailagay po nila dito, the collection from tobacco products did not meet oil target, falling short by 7.3 billion or 5.58%. So, sa study po namin so far, wala po kaming estimate how much po yung losses ng BIR sa mga revenues in terms of more specific po na tax stamp levels. Pero ito yung report from BIR na specifically sinasabi nila yung losses are around 7.3 billion or 5.5% mas mababa for 2024.
I'm sorry, just to follow up. Na-mention din kasi kanina yung parang need for improvement sa enforcement. If hindi ma-address yung enforcement issue, how do you think this would affect the economy in the near term? Thank you.
Siguro in terms of excise tax collection, yun lang nasabi lang ng BIR na kung hindi na-address yung illegal or illicit tobacco trade, around 52 billion pesos po yung estimated losses nila per year. So malaking yan, kabawasan yun sa ating pondo. So may malaking impact yun later on sa health especially.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Derrico of Manila Bulletin. I think this question will be directed to Mr. Roberto. Sir, you touched on illicit traders getting economically and politically powerful, and hence it becomes more difficult to combat illicit trade. But now we are still here fighting illicit trade. Could you possibly have an assessment as to the involvement of politicians or our leaders in illicit trade? Thank you, sir.
I don't have any evidence of involvement of politicians because my knowledge of the illicit trade in Philippines is through the Google, and I don't know the details of the reality in the field. If you don't have politicians involved, you will have. That is the important lesson from South America. At the end of the road, the politician will be because illicit trade of cigarettes basically is a source of funds for other activities, and that is a powerful element of the illicit traders to gain support and protection from the law enforcement and from the politicians to fund political campaigns. That is the road. I don't know where Philippines is now. I imagine that there are some protections, and clearly in General Santos, where the illicit trade is predominant. Certainly you have protection of politicians and the law enforcement people. But in the rest of the country, I don't know. But certainly you will have.
Thank you, sir.
Let's proceed to the next question.
Hello, Loriza from Astig.ph. I don't know if someone could answer this, or if this is covered as well. Since we're focusing on tobacco, are you also concerned with regards to the use of vape of the youngsters nowadays? Are there, are there laws or are there programs, campaigns that are being made so to make sure that, I don't know if it's my point of view, but I don't think vape is safe as well. And nowadays there are so many merchant stores selling this, and are they being covered with the sin tax as well?
I would like to invite someone from the Syntax Coalition, the AER, also to respond.
Hi, morning. Pia po from AER. So for our actual study, we're not able to cover vape products. So we only focused on cigarettes. But that does not mean we're not concerned about vape, no? Kasi kung natingnan niyo po yung figures ni Daph kanina, a lot of the increase in smoking from 2023 was actually from an astronomical rise in the use of vape products. So, especially among the youth, it grew from, I think, 1.1% to 9% of all tobacco and nicotine users were vapers. So, The Syntax Coalition doesn't only focus on cigarettes, we focus on vape. So our call is actually to amend the vape law of 2022, which made vapes more accessible to young people. It lowered the age of restriction from 21 to 18 years old and allowed flavors. So syempre yun po yung nakakaengganyo sa mga bata, kaya we're very much against that. And I wanted to add also, there are 3 bills in the House which were filed in October, which propose to lower tax rates on vape products from 50 pesos per milliliter to 10 pesos per milliliter. No? So that's a huge decrease. It will make e-cigarettes so much more affordable for our young people. And it also gets rid of the indexation or the annual increase. So that's the industry's, that is the call of the industry, no, to lower vape taxes, tobacco taxes, since the start of this year and for a very long time. And that's why it's linked also to our study, because we're not only concerned about illicit trade in and of itself and its effect on public health, we're concerned that the industry is using illicit trade as an argument to lower tobacco taxes. So that's what we want to dissect here. And sana po, lagpas po dito sa study natin, we can all join the clamor to get our legislators to to legislate stricter policies against vape, and then enforcement agencies, of course, the DTI, the BIR, to also strengthen their enforcement.
Alright, I think we can proceed to the next question.
Yes. So, anonymous po from the Manila Times. So, my question was for Ms. Tacodel po. I don't know if this was tackled sa research earlier, pero there were, of course, it highlights yung lowering of tobacco taxes, no, and showcases po ano yung detrimental effects niya. But also there were calls po kanina, it was briefly touched upon, but never really fleshed out on, yung sa increasing po ng taxes. In terms of that po, does the research also cover kung gaano ka-significant yung increase that we're also eyeing?
Thank you. Actually, sa study natin, hindi natin na-cover yun. Basically, I think it's for mas makakapagbigay po ng idea sa ating BIR, how much yung estimated nila na increase because of their mas pinaigting ko baga na campaign against illicit tobacco trade. So, I hope, ay wala lang kaming representative from the BIR. But I hope sa mga reports nila na upcoming, I think 2025, makikita po natin because na-mention nila rin sa mga press release nila na from January to I think July, mas mataas yung target nila kaysa sa actual collection na nila ngayon. So I hope makita natin yung sa report nila.
I think the most recent data I saw was that for the first 8 months, year on year, BIR's excise tax collection for tobacco specifically increased by 30%. So tumaas this year. So I hope their efforts are really working na, no? And stronger efforts towards that will further collect more.
Ay, pwedeng ma-add ko lang pala, no?
Yes,
may data kami dito ng tobacco, percentage ng tobacco tax sa total excise tax collection. So it's around 49% of total excise taxes every year on average. Yeah, so yan ang tobacco.
Follow-up po. Okay, sige. We'll go back to this table for more questions from our media.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Aubrey Nasante from Business World. I have for the last question. My question is for Vice Mayor Beng and Mr. Roberto specifically. Do you see a harsher sentences for those violators will solve or curb illicit tobacco trade, or would that be another like a band-aid solution without proper enforcement? Thank you.
Well, I think the idea is to increase the penalties and to increase the prosecution of the illicit traders. My impression reading the anti-sabotage law that the government and the Congress are decided to play hard on them. So I have expectation that the illicit traders should will be punished. One of the problems of South America is that the justice, because there was no central effort from the executive and the Congress to punish the illicit traders, the justice were following the normal procedures, and the illicit traders were not punished. And that is my concern. I think that is one thing that my impression is that it's different here in Philippines, at least from reading the newspapers and the statement of the executive power, that they want to modify the procedures, and the prosecution is concerned. A concern that in South America was not present. So I have hope that, and also it's important that civil society and the Health Coalition should be very firm in this point of trying to get more from the prosecution.
Thank you for that last question. I think it has to do with policy. We start with that, and you put the amount of penalty. But on the ground, it's enforcement and prosecution. But what Roberto said, no matter what we do on the ground, we run after smugglers. If there is no international collaborative effort from the manufacturers, then down to the supply chain, it will be a useless battle. I was telling them earlier that when we proposed the passage of the graphic signages for tobacco cigarettes in my first term in Congress, we failed. And I could not understand for the life of me why they would oppose such a move to put graphic signages, when I think that has been very vital as a source of education, campaign, anti-smoking, and information, though the cigarette manufacturers can still sell it. It's just the warning signages. I discovered that we have a very strong lobby in the industry, and that money can be used to lobby for or against the interest of people. So my takeaway for this is that illicit cigarettes undermine both public health and local revenues. We in Mindanao see firsthand how smuggling hurts our communities. Authorities must strengthen enforcement, not a result to tax harmful products. But you see, there is really a collaboration, coordination, and synchronicity between the international community, and we're very thankful for that insight Roberto gave, that it is an endless battle to run after smugglers. Do you know that the former head of the Bureau of Customs had 25 million pesos in his head? That means for him to be destroyed if he fights against illegal smuggling. Did you know that even I myself fell victim to smugglers and political nemesis who destroyed my reputation and that of my husband, who happened to be a cavalier of the Philippine Military Academy? You run after the smugglers, they turn against you, triple, quadruple, and it becomes a very endless battle. Unless we curb it we nip it from the bud internationally, locally, and nationally, then we can address. But please do not forget that it also, enforcement begins with down to our barangays. Muchas gracias.
Question sa
Zoomers. So, we have a question from, somebody chatted in the Zoom. There's a Zoom, meron tayong mga participants in our Zoom call. This is from Francisco Lara Jr. He's from what organization? Climate? CCAA. Okay, so sabi niya, first of all, I would like to laud AER for doing this study. My question goes beyond the amount being smuggled to the more important question of, what are the smuggling streams from illicit cigarettes funding? Are revenues funding violent extremism? CCAA is doing an update of our 2014 Shadow Economies book, and we found out that the recently robust trade in cigarettes is fueling other criminal economies such as illegal drugs. It's like a gateway to illegal drugs.
Thank you very much to Mr. Dara, and we'd like to laud your advocacy. As what I've said, the illicit cigarettes will also give birth to illegal drugs. Very recently, the Dangerous Drugs Board, General Valenzuela, came to Zamboanga together with the Director General of PIDEA. Not only does it welcome illicit cigarettes, but illicit drugs as well. And from the drugs comes sugar, but very important commodities that are very helpful for rice, for example, is also being smuggled. Fuel is also being smuggled. And out of all of these smuggled items, I'm sure it will lead to other destructive vices, but also, sad to note, even violent extremism.
Another question. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Rain Alberto from Business Mirror. My question is for Mr. Iglesias. Sir, as a tobacco tax expert, what do you think should the government do, or how should the government go about in taxing tobacco? Because the BIR is proposing to that the tax on vape products should be higher than cigarettes or tobacco products, and the heated tobacco products should be equal with tobacco or cigarettes. So what do you think should the government or the BIR, the government or lawmakers should go about taxing tobacco?
You have here before people say that it is possible to increase taxes because really one of the deterrent of the higher the argument used to deter higher tax rate was smuggling, and we have seen with the report that the size of illicit market is very small in the Philippines. But certainly my impression, it happened everywhere, government needs to take control of the situation before to think and to propose in Congress to increase cigarette rates, but and novel product rates. I think that at least the international organizations are recommending to tax HEP at the same level of cigarettes, and it's necessary to increase novel products because consumption is growing and is a dangerous product. But in relation to cigarettes, I think the government and the Congress will wait to have a better picture of the situation of illicit trade. And I think this study is helpful to show that the illicit trade is lower in main areas of the country, and the problem is not related to taxation. So they should think about the tax policy in order to get revenues and to fund universal health coverage. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marie from PIMA. I have a question. Based on your global experience, Roberto, is there any country in the world that has overcome from a very difficult situation into a success story? And what were the drivers of success?
Thank you for your question. Well, it's an endless work, I would say. But there are successes. Canada is one of them, and England put in place a good strategy to reduce illicit trade. I don't know what exactly is the situation now in the case of UK, but the European Union has reduced illicit trade. So if we have to think about successful cases, we have to look to the European Union, to UK, and to Canada. Certainly for less developed economies, it's harder to fight illicit trade. That's my conclusion, because it's a problem. These days, it's a problem of governance, and in our countries, governance is an issue, and we need to do more and better in that terms of governance. Thank you.
I'd just like to add on that, Ma'am Marie. I remember in the history of taxation in the Philippines, at least for the short term, we remember back in 2016 that there was also a similar problem of a dip in collections. And I remember the next year, I think BIR, the government filed a case against, a tax evasion case against Mighty Corporation. If you remember this, this was a big news back then. And so they had to pay 30 billion pesos. The company was sold to JTI because they couldn't pay off that amount. And then the next year, we see already immediate increase in the collection. So that was evident of how tax administration and the show of enforcement, strong enforcement by the government was able to show to the smugglers or those who engage in illicit trade that this government is serious about addressing. So we see, so that's just one thing that I remember from the past for related to our local experience, how we were able. But the illicit trade is bigger actually than just tobacco products. And as Roberto has mentioned, we need constant continuing efforts to address it, and it's bigger than what we see right now. Other questions from the audience? Okay, there's one more from Zoomers, the Zoomers. Hi, Bernie Cahiles Magkilat here of Logistics News PH. The study showed that most of the illicit trade came from Indonesia. Why? Is this a matter of easier logistics between the two countries or relaxed border controls, especially those from the Mindanao side? Apart from Indonesia, what are the other country sources of illicit tobacco trade?
Thank you po sa inyong question. So based sa study namin, I think makaka-add din po si Vice Mayor mamaya sa sasabihin namin. But doon nga sa study na mention natin, combination siya ng historical, cultural, at mga geographical factors doon sa bandang Zamboanga. So, ang na-mention namin kanina na sa mga southern parts ng Mindanao, even locals, ang tawag nila doon ay legal smuggling or mga backdoor trading. So, yung awareness sa tinatawag nating smuggling ay hindi ganun kataas no compare dito sa Pilipinas. So, nako-compound ito ng na-utilize ito or na-exploit ito, mga factors na ito dahil din sa pagkakaroon ng mga weak enforcement doon sa areas na ito. So, yung more detailed siguro na dynamics no sa lugar na ito, I think mas makaka-explain po si Ma'am Beng. So, pasa ko yung mic.
Okay, thank you very much, Bernie. Kung makita mo yung mapa ng Pilipinas, napakalaki ng ating mga border areas and coastal areas. The nearest to Zamboanga City is Malaysia. And the borders are very porous. That's why Indonesia, very close to Malaysia, also have this illegal economy thriving. But historically, we must also look at the trade opportunities that the Philippines have with our neighbors in Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, the BIMP. So you talk about illicit, illegal trade being done, but we're also working at legal in partnership between the BIMP countries so that we will be able to foster legal economy that will also benefit. And with that, I would like to invite you to the city of Zamboanga to visit us, not to smoke illicit cigarettes, but to go to the barter trade. And this is where you see that affordable prices from Malaysia are being sold in Zamboanga City, and even not only food, but as well as clothing. And this is how we support our ASEAN neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. And ma-add ko lang din, may mga ibang na-mention, yung question niya rin is kung ano pa yung ibang sources na illicit tobacco. Based on the testing ng BIR, may binigay silang na name ng countries, some of them ay galing Thailand. So ito naman based on labels na po ng mga cigarette packs na we collected. Thailand, South Korea, meron din United Arab Emirates, meron din from London, Switzerland. So yun yung mga identify nila. So yung dito, coming from Mindanao areas na mga illicit tobacco products, mostly from Indonesia and Malaysia yung sources. Bandang Cebu and Batangas, medyo doon na tayo halo-halo from other countries na like Thailand, South Korea, and all.
Pwede pa dagdag? Naalala niyo yung rice certification law that was passed in 2019. Talamak yung rice smuggling sa Zamboanga City. And I remember the Secretary of Agriculture came because we couldn't find, it was very difficult for us to find rice in the market, and the prices have blossomed, have increased. So what they decided was, I remember the Secretary saying that in order to legalize smuggling, let us put tariffs on them so that they will be legally entering the country. Thus, the rice certification law was born. Question: is this beneficial to our farmers? Is it beneficial to our people?
Questions from last questions? Okay, if there are none, we would like to thank our panelists today. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Vice Mayor Beng, Roberto, and Daph.